This episode is for the writer who is afraid that no one will buy your book. You want people to read, buy, and share your book, but you don't actually believe that it's going to happen. Breaking into the publishing world feels so out of reach for you that you're paralyzed with the prospect of building an author platform, and that fear that no one will buy your book is really, really loud. I'm here in this episode to disrupt that internal narrative that you have playing in your mind right now. Because the truth is that you already have readers waiting for you. You just have to start the conversation already. So let's get started. You are listening to the Memoir Method podcast, the place for writers, readers, and anyone who appreciates the collective power of our stories. In this podcast, we explore the impact of memoir alongside an examination of writing techniques and strategies used in the genre. Whether you are a writer looking for inspiration and guidance or a passionate reader seeking meaningful connections through shared experiences, the Memoir Method podcast is your go-to conversation spot. I'm your host, Charlotte, editor, writer, and the heart behind Charlotte Writes. Let's get started. One of my greatest fears as an adult is that I will plan a party and no one will show up. And it's not even that no one will show, but I'll actively invite people and they either won't be able to make it or they'll cancel last minute and the party will just be a lot smaller than I thought. And I hate that feeling. It's a fear that I've had since I was a kid. It has carried with me into adulthood. Sometimes that's what it feels like to write and publish a book. Especially with where the publishing industry is right now, there is a pressure to build your author platform and already have readers. It's in many areas an expectation. And that's actually a stumbling block I see so many writers express when we're talking long-term publication goals. I don't like social media is the most common sentiment that I hear about finding readers. And it can feel like this annoying task that you kind of have to do, but you hate. That is what social media feels like to so many authors. The hard truth about this is that your audience will know if you hate it. Your audience will know if you're faking, if you're insecure, if you're performing just for the sake of performing. So when we're talking about finding your most ardent readers, we're actually talking about something so much deeper than social media. We're talking about, one, how you show up to the conversation that you're leading, and two, expecting people to be there ready to read and listen and engage. So I will go so much deeper into your author platform once I teach phase 3 of the Memoir Method coming out later this fall. But first of all, you need to know who your reader is. And this is a core piece of your memoirs foundation that I teach inside of phase 1 of the Memoir Method. You have to know their reader and not just their demographics, but their actual psychology. What is bringing them to your work? And when you think about the conversation that your memoir is here to have, who is having that conversation with you? Who do you want to be having that conversation with? I can assure you that you don't want everyone to read your memoir. I know that you think that you just want anyone to read it because you want people to read it, but I promise you don't want just anyone to read it. Just like you wouldn't want to have the same conversation with every person. There are certain people that you go to when you're like, okay, this is who I need to talk to about this. It's the same with your memoir. That's how you have to think about your reader. With my memoir, it's currently in draft. My conversation is all about God, spirituality, and faith shifts and deconstruction. I am truly obsessed with this conversation, but I also don't care to have this conversation with everyone. I don't want to have this conversation with someone who deconstructed and left their faith and is still sitting in a lot of anger about it. That's not fun for me to have the conversation that I want to have with someone who is really angry. That's not my ideal reader. I want that person to be able to find the conversation that they're looking for, but it probably isn't mine. I also don't want to have this conversation with someone who is so entrenched in whatever church institution that they shut down any perspectives or opinions about the nuances and complexities of religion. I'm here for the person ready to have a conversation about that in-between space when it comes to religion and spirituality. I'm here for that curious seeker. I know that my work will attract other readers besides this one curious reader that I'm thinking of, but I do get to be choosy about who I write for and who I invite into the conversation explicitly. You also get to be choosy. So the secret to finding your ardent readers really comes down to cultivating an expectation that they are already waiting for you. You don't want to have to convince anyone to read your book. That's not fun. No one likes a convincing energy. You get to invite people into the conversation and they get to choose into it. That is the reframe that is really underneath all of this, is you get to invite and they get to choose in. How do you do this? You just start the conversation. Like, I know that sounds so simple, but what makes the Memoir Method program that I run so simple and transformative is that what I teach you to articulate in phase 1, this conversation that your memoir is here to have, that applies to every single stage of publication after that. It applies to editing, it applies to publishing, it applies to book launching, everything. So when I teach you how to craft that foundation, name that conversation in phase 1, that insight is going to show you exactly how to talk to readers right now. Your conversation, when I talk about your conversation, I'm using that term specifically because it's bigger than your memoir manuscript. It's bigger than the published book. It's actually the point. And your memoir is a piece in that, a way for someone to enter the conversation, and you want them to read it, and you want people to be a part of the conversation, but you want them to read it because you care about the conversation. Because your book isn't about you. It's about the conversation. Your conversation is a direct, nurturing relationship between you and your reader. And so once you know that conversation, you get to start having it right now. I'm going to give you an example so you can see how this has actually played out very recently for me. I recently realized that I wanted to start having my own memoirs conversation right now. Just like you, I have been waiting, and I realized that I didn't want to wait anymore. And also, my memoir is not even close to being published. It's far from being complete. But like I've already said, I'm obsessed with the conversation around it. I'm obsessed with this topic and with my specific way of talking about it. So I started the conversation with my readers right now. Let's pause this, back up to a little over a year ago. I started a personal Substack account. If you're unfamiliar, Substack is a platform for writers that is more or less just another version of blogging. It's a great place for writers to go. I actually highly recommend going there if you have not yet started an author platform and you don't like social media. Starting on Substack is great. So I posted a few times when I started this. I kind of let it slide. I'd come in every now and then. I had a handful of subscribers. Then I started to post more regularly at the tail end of last year. And whenever I post, I do get more subscribers every time with almost every single post. And while I don't post daily or even weekly, I have about 80 or so subscribers right now. This is not a ton, but when I think about standing in front of a room with 80 people in it, ready to listen, it actually feels pretty big. So if you are worried about having a small audience, think about if you were just in a room with, 80 people in it, 100 people in it, who were there to listen to you. That feels pretty big, right? So anyway, I decided that I wanted to start having my memoirs conversation right now. And I went back to my Substack account. I wrote an essay about this conversation, kind of introducing it, that I care so much about, and I introduced this new era of my corner of the internet. The next post that I wrote invited my readers into a paid subscription for posts specific to this religious spiritual conversation that I am so passionate about. So these two posts were, 1, my stating of the conversation that I'm here to have, and 2, my invitation for readers to come deeper with me into the conversation. I opted to use paid posts for one primary reason. I wanted to attract the right people into the room. Like I said earlier, I don't want to have this conversation with just anyone. I want to have this conversation with people who care about it. Not people who want to argue, not people who want to try to debate it. That's not the kind of conversation that I'm having. I want people in the room who care about the conversation. Within 24 hours of introducing paid posts, I had my first paid subscriber, and she paid for the whole year. She went with an annual subscription. Within a week, I had a few more readers choose into the paid posts that I haven't even written yet. I haven't even written any. I will also note that none of these subscribers actually know me in real life. They don't know me in person. They came into this conversation because not only do they care about it like I do, I created the room for them. They couldn't have come into this conversation now if I didn't create the room. And let me remind you again, I do not have a finished memoir and essays, but I do know the conversation that it's going to facilitate. So I'm just starting the conversation now. Do you know what this conversation, starting it now, what that's going to do for my career as an author? Because already I'm building a base of readers who already care about this conversation, who are most likely to buy my memoir when I do publish it. I'm already getting paid for my writing because I named the conversation and invited people into it. And I'm being very discerning with who I want in the room. You don't have to be a social media guru to build an engaged readership. You just have to be brave enough to start the conversation now. The readers will come, I promise, because they're ready. I will remind you, I have under 100 Substack subscribers at the time of recording this episode. And I already have paid subscribers. And none of them is my mom or dad. This is 100% possible for you. If this is possible for me, then it's possible for you. You just have to name the conversation, start the conversation, and invite people into it. So I know that the prospect of building an author platform is intimidating, but what my writers learn inside of the memoir method is that it's so much less scary than you think. Because really, all this is choosing to lead the conversation and trusting that your readers will show up for you, because they will. This is what I teach inside the memoir method. It's so much more than tools and frameworks. It is a complete reframe of the publishing industry and how you get to move within it. Phase 1 is all instant access currently, and I just started teaching Phase 2 this week. So follow the link in the show notes to jump into this program and watch how the more clarity you have on your memoirs conversation, the more readers will show up for it. It is remarkable. It's the most exciting thing that I've been able to witness as a writer, and I love that I get to teach this to you as an editor. So hop into the memoir method with me. This is the program that will completely change your experience as a memoir writer and will elevate you from, like what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, from aspiring writer to published author. It gets to start like this. So thank you so much. I'll see you next time. You've just listened to an episode of the Memoir Method Podcast. The Memoir Method Podcast is presented by Charlotte Writes. If you liked what you heard, the best way to support the show is to subscribe through your preferred podcast player. And if you're feeling especially inspired, I'd love it if you left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Leaving a review really does help other readers and writers like yourself find the show. If you want to continue the conversation, you can find me on my website at charlottewrites.co or on Instagram at charlottejanewrites. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. And remember that you have a story that matters.